Yo, what if an absolute ruthless savage dropped into the Shinobi world? No mercy, just pure chaos. Who's surviving this? Drop a forecast right now.
Deep in the cold void of Universe 7, the Saiyan Prince pushes his broken body beyond the absolute limit, fueled by pure, unadulterated rage. A catastrophic spatial fracture rips through the cosmos. No warnings. No escape. Just the terrifying maw of an unknown dimension tearing reality apart.
What the hell is this? The gravity core! It's completely tearing the ship apart!
Swallowed by the dark abyss, the prince's iron vessel is crushed instantly, hurling him into a chaotic slipstream between universes. Torn from his own reality, Vegeta plunges through a violent dimensional storm, fighting against forces that would vaporize any ordinary mortal. Like a falling star fueled by wrath, he breaches the atmosphere of a world completely unaware of the absolute terror about to strike. With no ship and no control, the prince relies on the one thing that has never failed him, his unbreakable, prideful Saiyan body. The serene skies of the Shinobi world are violently interrupted. A harbinger of destruction descends, moving faster than any ninja could ever comprehend. Down below, the ancient forest stands still. A suffocating pressure blankets the earth, whispering a promise of absolute devastation. Brace for impact. The fragile piece of this primitive land is about to be shattered by an alien force of nature. In a single, defining microsecond, the earth completely yields to the sheer, crushing density of a Saiyan's landing. A shockwave of catastrophic proportions flattens the ancient woods. It is an arrival that demands the attention of every living soul. Where a lush, vibrant ecosystem once thrived, only a smoldering scar remains, marking the brutal baptism of this new world. From the ashes of destruction, life stirs. But this is no ordinary survivor clawing his way out of the wreckage. Battered. Broken. Bleeding. A lesser being would have been instantly vaporized. Yet, his iron grip on reality refuses to slip. He feels the stinging pain, the absolute humiliation of the fall. And with that pain comes a dangerous, simmering rage. Stranded in an unknown territory. No communications. No backup. Just his pride in a landscape completely devoid of his kind. His sharp senses immediately detect the anomaly. This isn't just a new planet. The very energy pulsing through the air is entirely alien. He tests his own power. It is suppressed, aching from the crash, yet wildly volatile. A dangerous combination for anyone who dares cross him. Instinct takes over. He is not alone. Pathetic, whispering energies are creeping through the shadows, watching the fallen prince. He offers no guard, no defensive stance. To him, these hidden watchers are nothing more than insignificant insects begging to be crushed. The local scouts observe in sheer terror. They came to investigate a meteor strike, only to find a demon stretching its limbs. He doesn't need a scouter to measure their worth. He can smell their fear bleeding into the strange, chakra-filled air. A fatal miscalculation. A desperate strike from the shadows aimed at a predator who has survived the absolute worst of the cosmos. Time seems to freeze. An attack that would claim any elite ninja's life is halted with the casual flick of a wrist. A burst of flame and smoke. To the hidden shinobi, a confirmed kill. But they have no idea what they have just awakened. Not a single scratch. The rudimentary weapons of this world are nothing but insulting toys to the Saiyan elite.
Is that all you've got? You pathetic worms just signed your own death warrants. Prepare to be erased!
A tyrant requires no diplomacy. In this new domain, the prince establishes his absolute rule not with words, but with an overwhelming, merciless display of absolute power. Before he can unleash absolute hell, a massive, unrefined energy signature crashes through the canopy, demanding his immediate attention. Tsunade, the legendary Sannin, descends like a golden hammer, mistaking the scarred alien for a foreign invader. She throws all her monstrous chakra into a single, devastating strike, intending to crush his skull into powder. But the earth-shattering blow is stopped dead. Not by a jutsu, but by the casual, arrogant grip of a Saiyan. Utter disbelief washes over her. No man in her entire life has ever withstood her raw physical strength without flinching. Vegeta smirks, entirely bored by her effort. With a brutal flick of his wrist, he violently tosses the legendary Sannin aside. She tears through the ancient wood, her body acting as a reckless wrecking ball against the very forest she swore to protect. Refusing to be humiliated on her own soil, Tsunade releases her ultimate trump card. The creation rebirth seal awakens. Intricate black markings flood her skin. Her chakra flares wildly, forcefully knitting her shattered bones back together in mere milliseconds. The prince raises an eyebrow. This primitive world suddenly holds a flicker of entertainment for his battle-starved blood. She lunges again, faster, deadlier. A flurry of lethal strikes aimed at his vital points, holding absolutely nothing back. Vegeta doesn't even bother dodging. He takes a direct, chakra-infused punch to his chest, barely moving a single inch. A heavy counterstrike. His knee buries into her abdomen with enough raw kinetic force to shatter a mountain. She coughs blood, but the glowing black seals instantly mend the massive internal trauma. She simply refuses to fall. Annoyed by her persistence, he snatches her by the throat, hoisting her off the ground with terrifying, effortless ease. Choking, battered, but completely unbroken. Her eyes burn with a feral, suicidal defiance that catches him completely off guard. That stubborn glare. It's a fierce, unyielding pride he hasn't seen since the warrior women of his doomed home planet. For the first time since his brutal arrival, the Saiyans' murderous intent cools. A twisted, silent sense of respect takes root. Instead of finishing the execution, he violently throws her to the scorched earth, deliberately sparing the fierce ninja's life. She hits the ground hard, her seals receding as sheer, overwhelming exhaustion finally overtakes her unnatural healing abilities. She looks up, gasping for air, realizing the absolute, terrifying truth: this monster wasn't even trying to kill her. Vegeta towers over the broken sand mine, his imposing silhouette casting a long, oppressive shadow across the entire scarred landscape. He gazes down at the strongest kunoichi of this world, not as a warrior, but as a king looking at a subject.
You've got spine, woman. Consider yourself lucky. From now on, this miserable rock belongs to the Prince of all Saiyans.
A declaration of absolute conquest. No treaties, no hidden villages. Just the iron will of a new cosmic tyrant. He turns his back on her, a gesture of supreme arrogance, dismissing the fierce warrior as a mere afterthought. The dust finally settles over the ruined landscape. A chilling new world order has just been established in blood and ash. The Shinobi era is effectively over. Welcome to the brutal new domain of the Saiyan Prince.
If that was Goku, he'd be asking her for ramen right now. But Vegeta? Straight up savage. How many more hits can Tsunade even take? Drop a comment.
Months pass. The once scarred crater has become a gravity-crushing training ground, shaped by the sheer will of its new, ruthless king. Under his oppressive aura, Tsunade adapts. She endures a brutal regimen that would easily shatter any ordinary shinobi's physical limits. But a power this immense cannot remain hidden. The prince's unchecked energy sends ripples through the very fabric of the ninja world. Far away, in the weeping village of Rain, the self-proclaimed god feels the catastrophic shift in the world's delicate balance. An anomaly so massive, it shatters their careful calculations. The Akatsuki can no longer wait in the shadows. They must act immediately.
This unknown energy threatens our path to true peace. We will capture it. Prepare the 6 paths immediately.
Driven by a twisted sense of divine duty, 6 unstoppable vessels of destruction march directly toward the Saiyans' territory. They arrive at the epicenter of the anomaly, ready to enforce their vision of pain upon whoever dares to defy them. He felt them coming miles away. But to a god of destruction in training, they register as nothing more than annoying, buzzing mosquitoes. Tsunade recognizes the infamous cloaks immediately. The Akatsuki. The most dangerous criminal syndicate in her world, knocking on the devil's door. They stand like untouchable gods, expecting the inhabitants below to tremble in fear before their overwhelming, divine presence. The leader descends, fully prepared to deliver his grand, philosophical monologue about the endless cycle of hatred and sorrow. He speaks of suffering. Of divine justice. Expecting the alien warrior to listen, to understand, or perhaps to beg for mercy. But the Saiyan Prince has absolutely zero patience for philosophical garbage. To him, this isn't a holy judgment. It's just noise. Recognizing the total lack of compliance, the Akatsuki immediately shift to lethal force. The first strike is unleashed without hesitation. A colossal beast, capable of tearing down entire fortresses, lunges forward, aiming to rip the arrogant stranger into bloody shreds. Vegeta doesn't even bother shifting into a combat stance. He simply raises a single, glowing finger. A concentrated flash of raw, unfiltered destruction. The legendary summoning beast is vaporized in an instant. No seals. No jutsu. Just absolute, devastating power. The enemy adapts immediately. A devastating barrage of explosive projectiles is launched to overwhelm him with sheer volume. An inescapable barrage meant to obliterate an entire army converges on a single target. But the prince swats them away with a bored backhand, his raw physical speed creating a vacuum that deflects the attack completely. The explosive payload detonates harmlessly in the distance. The Akatsuki are beginning to realize the catastrophic scale of their error. Desperate to establish dominance, the Deva path unleashes the almighty push, a gravitational wave meant to flatten cities into dust. An invisible tsunami of pure kinetic force tears across the earth, threatening to crush every bone in his body. The divine judgment lands. But the Saiyan doesn't budge a single millimeter. To him, the ultimate jutsu is nothing but a strong breeze. Playtime is officially over. The prince has endured enough of their pathetic parlor tricks. A terrifying realization sets in for the Akatsuki. They haven't trapped him. They have merely annoyed him.
You ruin my peace and quiet with this pathetic garbage? I'm going to rip you all apart!
The prince unleashes his wrath. The self-proclaimed gods of this world are about to experience true, unfiltered destruction.
Talk no jutsu? Bro, Pain picked the absolute worst guy in the multiverse to lecture. How many seconds do the 6 paths have left? Comment your bets right now.
The self-proclaimed god of this world attempts to preach about the endless cycle of pain, demanding absolute submission from the alien warrior.
Keep your pathetic, tragic backstory to yourself! I don't care about your pain! Gallic gun!
No jutsu. No hand signs. Just an overwhelming wave of raw, unfiltered destruction unleashed with a single, furious motion. In his final microsecond of existence, the false god realizes how profoundly outmatched his divine powers truly are. The infamous Akatsuki are erased from the timeline in a single heartbeat. A brutal, one-sided slaughter that reshapes the landscape itself. A blast so powerful it tears through the atmosphere, sending a blinding beacon of pure violence across the multidimensional void. The prince stands tall amidst the molten glass. To him, this wasn't a battle. It was simply taking out the trash. But the immense energy spike acts as a cosmic flare. The fabric of space tears open as new, much darker predators are drawn to the scent. The Otsutsuki clan descends. Celestial parasites who harvest worlds, drawn by an energy source unlike anything they have ever felt. Momoshiki looks down with absolute disgust. He expects to harvest this anomaly, viewing the Saiyan merely as an oversized chakra fruit waiting to be plucked. But instead of fear, the Saiyan prince smiles. Finally. Some high-tier punching bags have delivered themselves right to his front door. The colossal Kinshiki attacks first, dropping from the sky with a massive chakra blade meant to cleave the earth completely in half. A strike that could split continents is halted effortlessly by a single, bare Saiyan hand. The sheer physical difference is utterly staggering. The divine chakra weapon shatters like cheap glass. Raw, primal strength easily overpowering ancient celestial magic. Without skipping a beat, Vegeta retaliates. A brutal back kick caves the giant's chest inward, sending him flying like a broken toy. The giant is swatted away, crashing straight through a mountain range. The Saiyan is already bored with the warm-up. Furious, Momoshiki attempts his ultimate trick, trying to absorb the Saiyan's energy directly through his Rinnegan. But you can't absorb what you can't even see. Vegeta vanishes instantly, moving faster than celestial eyes can track. He appears casually behind the celestial being. A terrifying ghost of raw physical speed entirely bypassing space-time ninjutsu. A devastating sledgehammer blow crushes down. The arrogance of the Otsutsuki clan is instantly beaten out of them. The so-called god is sent plummeting to the earth, crashing violently into the very mud he sought to conquer. Bleeding and humiliated, madness takes over. Momoshiki blindly unleashes a desperate storm of fire and lightning, hoping to burn the monster away. But the Saiyan simply walks through the inferno. Elemental jutsu is completely meaningless against the overwhelming pressure of his raw ki. An ambush from the rubble. The giant returns, swinging a lethal blade aimed straight for the prince's blind spot. A flawless dodge. A ruthless counter. The giant's spine is shattered instantly, completely removing him from the board. The giant falls, paralyzed. Leaving the arrogant celestial god entirely alone with the universe's most ruthless predator. Panic sets in. The harvester of worlds is reduced to a terrified prey, desperately trying to tear open an escape route. But flight is no longer an option. The Saiyan's grip locks on, shutting down the portal and sealing his fate in an instant. Lifted like a ragdoll, the celestial being is entirely helpless, completely dominated by a warrior who scoffs at the concept of divinity.
Is this pathetic garbage the best the gods of this universe can do? You disgust me!
Time itself shudders and stops. Out of the cosmic shadows emerge the true architects of chaos, stepping onto the frozen battlefield. Tawa, the demon god scientist, observes the Saiyan not as a threat, but as a fascinating, highly volatile test subject. Beside her stands Mira. A bioandroid possessing the genetic data of the multiverse's greatest fighters, radiating absolute, suffocating power. Vegeta's instincts scream. This isn't another batch of arrogant aliens. This is a level of divine malice he hasn't felt in a long time. Sensing his isolation, the Demoness offers a Faustian bargain, a one-way ticket back to his universe, for a small price.
Bow down, little prince. Swear absolute loyalty to the demon realm and become our loyal servant. Or rot in this mud for—
Servant. That single word strikes the deepest, most agonizing nerve in his soul, tearing open the unhealed scars of his enslaved past. The sheer indignity is too much to bear. The prince would rather burn in hell than wear another tyrant's collar. His absolute pride shatters the demonic time-bind. His fury transforms into a raging inferno of raw, unadulterated Saiyan power.
I am the Prince of all Saiyans. I bow to absolutely no one. I'll wipe that smug look off your dead face.
Fueled by traumatic rage, the prince strikes with lethal intent, launching an attack meant to obliterate the demon god instantly. But the killing blow is intercepted. Mira catches the prince's fist with terrifying, effortless ease, acting as an impenetrable demonic shield. No flinching. No effort. The bioandroid processes the Saiyan's rage as nothing more than an insignificant, easily countered data point. Vegeta adapts in a microsecond. He pivots relentlessly, delivering a bone-crushing roundhouse aimed to shatter the demon's ribcage. But the demon is a tank. Taking the blow cleanly, Mira counters with a devastating strike that violently empties the prince's lungs. He tastes his own blood. But instead of despair, the sheer pain only fuels his maniacal, battle-starved Saiyan instincts. Tawa strikes from the rear. A relentless barrage of dark demonic magic rains down, turning the battlefield into a lethal kill box. 2 against 1. Vegeta is forced on the absolute defensive, dancing through a lethal minefield of demonic artillery. The margin of error is 0. A single grazing hit shatters his armor, the dark magic burning deeply into his flesh like acid. Ignoring the agonizing pain, the prince retaliates instantly, launching a desperate barrage of ki to force the Demoness back. But to Tawa, his furious assault is completely meaningless. Her demonic barrier absorbs the Saiyan's desperate attacks effortlessly. A fatal distraction. While focused on the witch, Vegeta completely loses track of the ultimate biological killing machine. A catastrophic blow to the spine. The sheer physical disparity between mortal and demon is put on terrifying display. The prince is driven into the bedrock with enough force to shatter a continent, buried instantly under a mountain of unforgiving stone. Battered. Broken. Bleeding. The physical toll is absolute. Even his legendary Saiyan endurance is reaching its absolute breaking point. Tawa secures the prey. A suffocating demonic gravity bind forces the proud warrior violently back down into the dirt. Pinned to the ground like a common slave. It is the ultimate, excruciating humiliation for a man who refuses to bow. Mercy is not in the demon's vocabulary. Mira charges an execution blast, intending to erase the anomaly from this timeline permanently. But even staring directly into the abyss of his own execution, the prince refuses to break. He bares his fangs, smiling at death itself. The executioner strikes. A wave of absolute demonic destruction swallows the Saiyan whole, leaving nothing but blinding, catastrophic light.
Vegeta is getting pushed to the absolute limit. Is his pride enough to survive actual demon gods? Drop a heart right now if you think the prince is gonna clutch this.
The execution connects. To the demon gods, the anomaly is erased, and this primitive world is officially ripe for the taking. But they vastly underestimated their prey. Deep within the crushing darkness, a dormant, legendary power refuses to be extinguished. Pushed to the absolute brink of death, the prince's traumatic rage shatters his physical limits far earlier than destiny intended. A blinding eruption of pure gold. The demonic gravity is entirely obliterated by a force that logic simply cannot comprehend. The legend awakens. Forged in blood, pride, and unparalleled fury, the Super Saiyan steps onto the battlefield.
Did you really think a cheap, pathetic parlor trick like that was enough to keep the Prince of all Saiyans in the dirt?
The demon god is entirely paralyzed by fear. The data was wrong. This warrior is built different, operating on a level of absolute savagery. Operating on raw combat programming, Mira strikes first, attempting to crush the anomaly before it can fully stabilize. But the gap has closed. A strike that was once fatal is now casually sidestepped like a child's tantrum. Vegeta strikes. Using a high-tier sealing jutsu copied flawlessly from the Sannin, he adapts native magic into his brutal Saiyan arsenal. The black seals spread like a virus. The ultimate biological weapon is instantly paralyzed, its energy flow completely suffocated by primitive ninja arts. The board is set. The demon is trapped. Now, the prince prepares his absolute execution. He gathers every ounce of his burning pride and traumatic rage into a single, world-ending focal point.
Game over, you demonic trash! Final Flash!
A blinding wave of absolute annihilation. The legendary Final Flash tears through the fabric of reality itself. The bioandroid cannot adapt. He cannot heal. He is utterly and permanently erased from the multiverse. A permanent, glowing scar is carved across the entire continent. A horrifying testament to the prince's ultimate wrath. The demon god is broken. Her champion erased, her magic useless. For the first time in millennia, she understands true fear. In a frantic act of pure cowardice, the architect of chaos tears open a rift, fleeing from the absolute slaughter she provoked. The portal snaps shut. The demons are gone. Against impossible, godlike odds, the Prince of all Saiyan stands totally victorious. The golden light fades, and the spatial tear seals shut forever. The catastrophic battle is finally over, leaving only one man standing. His royal armor is shattered, his body soaked in blood, yet his dark eyes burn with absolute, unconquerable pride. Through the settling ash, the legendary medical ninja rushes to his side, completely overwhelmed by the sheer scale of his victory. She channels her healing chakra to close his deepest wounds, looking at the alien warrior not as a threat, but as an absolute savior.
Don't flatter yourself, woman. I didn't need your pathetic healing. But you didn't run away. I'll give you that.
Dismissing her efforts with signature arrogance, the prince steps forward, climbing to the absolute highest peak of the ruined battlefield. He gazes down at the vast, broken continent. There are no gods left to challenge him, no villains left to stand in his way. The age of Shinobi is officially dead. A brutal, unforgiving new era has begun under the iron fist of the Saiyan Prince.
Thank you guys so much for watching till the end. Smash subscribe and comment below. I'll catch you guys in the next dimension. Peace out.